So we're going to talk through two different things. One, I think we'll tackle the men's team first because they're probably a little bit easier to work through because we've got a slightly more defined problem with them.
Yeah.
And whereas the women, it's a little bit more open-ended. So the men's team, we've got 8 players, all returners. So we know what positions they play. Hopefully we have everybody. We may have one more who's a super senior who's not taking classes right now. His thing is up in the air at the moment, but we'll deal with that second semester when we get there. So for the moment now, we've got 8 players. We've got a scenario where we have an hour training session 3 times a week. One session will be without our setter because he'll have a work conflict. And we have to do 6-foot distancing on the court with masks. Not that the mask thing really changes what sort of exercises we'll do.
Right.
Okay, so the big thing that I feel like we need to accomplish, aside from shaking off the rust of 6 months of not doing anything, well, some of them have been playing outside on their own, but we need to install an offense, so to speak.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean, for those listening, last year, the head coach wasn't a real big fan of going fast to the pins. Everything was basically either quick to the middle or pretty high ball to the pin, no matter the quality of the pass. So first thing we're going to be looking at is how do we accelerate that? We're not going to be the biggest team in the world. I mean, not that they have a lot of big guys in Division III as it is, but we're not huge. And a lot of what I saw in the video from last year on those high ball sets was good solid double blocks, and as a result, balls getting played off the block and then transitioned. So that's the thing we obviously want to be trying to avoid by being able to go quicker to the pins. So the question is, how can we accomplish working on that, given our constraints, while also trying to work on some other stuff? You guys both worked with them last year. So if there are things that you want to jump in on that and make suggestions, I'm open to it.
Well, the first thing for us to run the faster offense, we definitely have to do a lot of ball control work as well. And I know it was tough for Jake last year because he's technically a libero. So him stepping in as a setter, it was he was all over the place quite a bit, trying to kind of track down balls. So I definitely think, because everyone is such in a rush to get to their spot to hit that they forget to pass first. So I definitely think we need to touch on that and work on footwork a lot too, because we have a lot of just different habits that could be fixed. So that way we can get that offense going right away. So that way it's because a lot of them, because they're so used to that slower ball, they've got a slower approach. So I definitely think it'll have to be a lot of footwork that goes into getting them prepared. So that way they can be more efficient when that faster ball comes.
Yeah. Have to release better awareness of whose ball responsibility it is, so we can get out of the way and get on to whatever our next duty is.
Yeah.
We have a very poor transition game off the net. That's been the biggest issue, and people just not getting back. A few of the players, for example, Malachi, he just doesn't get back to the 10-foot line. I mean, he's at the 5-foot mark at least, trying to swing at a ball, and he gets blocked all the time. If he got all the way back, he would have a decent approach. Carlos, he has we'd say more of a hop step approach.
Yeah, we've been trying to work on, he takes like a 2-step, it's like 2 steps on the same foot and then tries to jump. So it's just, it's got, I don't know.
It's like a hop step almost. It's almost like a basketball hop step.
Yeah, so I definitely think, especially now, I mean, they really haven't, like we said, they've been off for so long, so it'll be a lot of footwork that we've got to get too, but it's like that block to transition work. I think that's what kind of trips them up. It's that everything at once. Because if we are just like a coach's toss to the center and a fast-paced ball, everyone's good because they're just set. But it's when everything is in motion and in play, trying to get them to like get to a set spot each time because everyone's kind of always in like a different place when they're starting their approach.
Yeah. So basically, we needed them going from reception to attack and from block or defense to attack.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One both ways. Well, that's good because I don't like really doing just straight up hitting lines.
Yeah.
And it's not something that we want to be doing in this situation anyway, because 6 foot distancing kind of takes lines out of the equation for the most part. So it sounds like we should be doing some stuff that's have some people passing, have 3 people passing, maybe have the pins as front row, attackers, going off of reception. We're not really going to be able to do transition off of a live attack,
right?
Because they don't want hitters and blockers in proximity at the net. Right. We could do it off of back row attack sort of situation if we really want something to go that way, and that's doable. So, all right, that's something to work with. So I think the days without Jake, obviously we're not going to get to do a heck of a lot in the way of offense.
Right.
We can always do, I'm sure they need some refreshing work on block footwork.
Mm-hmm.
We can do that once. Yeah, you like that line?
They need it. A lot of them need it. Trust me.
Yeah.
Well, I was hoping to be able to integrate that with their strength and conditioning this week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
But because we're going to be indoors, most likely, we're not going to have space to do it. It's like, okay, you could send one guy out in the hallway, but that's about it. So that kind of blew that idea there. But it can be part of their warm-up each day. Okay, X number of blocks.
Just by looking at like our blocking percentages, like our block error percentage is, as a team, was at 27.9%. And our opponents were around 27.7.
Okay, define block error.
Basically, a block error percentages is basically the amount of errors committed on the block. Basically, if it's either you block them out of bounds, or it's dug in transition and killed again. That's how I know it basically as. Our block touches percentage is a 32.5% as a team last season, and our opponents was a 41.9%. Basically, that is how many touches our hands actually touch the ball, basically. And then volumetrics breaks down as a good block. Basically, if it actually blocked the ball, we're sitting at a 46%. Our opponents are blocking at a 50%.
Those are higher numbers than I would have thought. But okay. All right. So clearly though, we need to get better at blocking. And like I said, unfortunately, we won't be able to train that too much specifically with hitters at this stage. But at least we can get the footwork stuff going in their warm-ups.
A lot of our blocking issues, though, was hand placement as well. We just have an issue penetrating over the net. It's like
a lot of these
backwards. So some of them do have the footwork down. It's just them trying to press and stuff. So that's just, over time, once we get more availability to actually hit at them, then on hands.
Well, and also get the replay with the camera right along the net so they can see my hand's getting across or am I blocking straight up. Which obviously if you're a smaller blocker, it's one thing, but if you're one of the bigger guys with a good jump,
you should be
on the other side of the net. All right, so let's think about the sort of things that we can do on the days without Jake, since we really can't do a lot in the way of offense. We can do obviously high ball out of system. In those days, we'll only have 7.
Okay.
Because obviously we won't have Jake, so it'll be a little bit of a weird number. Some of the thoughts of stuff that I've been thinking about generally for both teams from a gameplay perspective, because I definitely want them playing in some fashion, is, for example, like a situation where you could have 2 or 3 backcourt players and, one player at the net, but kind of on a staggered. So kind of like the setters,
Yeah.
if you were working 2 setters, or one of them could be a hitter, either side.
Mhm.
And say, you could set either back row to zone 1, or you could set high ball to 4,
Right.
some sort of situation. Obviously, there's not going to be, you can put a block up against the zone 1 attack, but you can't put a block up against the zone 4 attack.
Right.
So we might have to constrain where that zone 4 attacker is allowed to hit the ball.
Swing. Yeah.
Something along those lines, to get some defense going in there as well. How much back row attacking was even done last year? I mean, I didn't see any tempo pipes at all, for sure.
No, we tried to get them to run the BIC quite a bit. It was, I know Chris can run it, but a lot of it's overshot sometimes. So.
Or he just tries to destroy the ball and it just goes.
A lot of our back row attacks, instead of using it as like an actual option, it's always like the bailout attack. So it's always that like high ball that's kind of like just thrown up just for someone to swing at. So it was never as effective as we wanted it to be, because sometimes it was just someone happened to be there, so they're swinging at it type of deal. So we would have preferred to run like those faster balls in the pipe like the BIC, but a lot of the times, even confusion too, because our communication sometimes with our hitters, it's like if Jake were to try and set that ball in the BIC, sometimes our middles would get in the way. So it's just talking wise and letting everybody know on the entire court know what the plan is. We got to work on that as well.
Yeah.
Because
the liberos need to know too, so they don't run underneath that.
Right.
That pipe that big. Otherwise, that's a disaster if it happen. What about the set out of to 1?
That was just a regular C ball. They would try and run the D ball a little bit, but most of the time, especially Jake was all around, so we would only run that 3 rotations most of the time. And I'm trying, who would really be? Sometimes we would have a DS. I think LJ may have played a little bit of one spot, so we never really sent him the ball. But most of the time, I don't really think we had someone that was like a trained like one spot attacker back there. It was kind of like thrown in a little bit, but.
Okay. Yeah. And for the people out there, LJ's not hitting D-ball.
No. He's 5'5".
If he did, it might not even technically be considered an attack, because I don't know if the ball would be above the height of the net. So, all right. Well, I'm trying to think logistically. We can do stuff working on the pipe when we do have Jake, because you get a bit more spacing with that, especially if we have the middles running the shoot ball. So they're not, we shouldn't be running anything where we have tight quicks with the center, which is fine. The timing of the pipe or the BIC is going to be the same if we're running a shoot instead of a straight one. So we can actually do that sort of stuff with Jake's in.
Yeah, I also think, especially if our liberos are there, we got to work on our them taking the second ball a lot. So I think that'll be good when Jake's not there, because especially Kevin's hands are very good. So, and he's usually good with that second ball placement. LJ, he was told not to use his hands anymore.
I understand he got called multiple times for double contacts.
So we definitely need to work on libero taking the second ball and being able to run multiple options. A lot of the time it would just go to one person. So all teams pretty much knew if the libero's taking the ball, it's going to the outside.
Yeah.
So we definitely need to work on cross court setting for them, which I think that'll kind of be pretty good, because that'll be pretty distanced. We would have them in the libero spot, and then like whoever's on the right side, they would know they're getting that ball cross court.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's something we could definitely do is put a ball into one.
Yeah.
Whoever's there digs it up, Kevin or LJ. Yeah, you could even have a middle in there. Matt and Brandon can jump in and take a few of those as well.
Yeah.
I
Actually,
just work on being able to face and also
Matt's
the
hands are
shoulder.
very good as well. He's been pretty good about taking a couple of those second balls. So
Okay.
Oh yes, a lot of assists. You know?
Oh boy. All right. Well, you got some drill ideas, Lang? Come on, tell us about them.
I mean, we talked about hitting and things like that. I think just getting back to fundamentals, I think, would be actually a good starting point. I think on the men's side, passing is their number one issue outside of hitting and blocking. We are not, our service passing is horrendous in some cases, and in some other cases, it's very good. We don't have, we can't pass efficiently when it's not going to Kevin, when the serve doesn't go to Kevin enough. That was our biggest issue last year, I think. Reception-wise, I mean, we're passing as a team around the 2.0 mark. Out of a 3-point scale, our opponents were passing, a 2.0 evenly. So I think we're even with our opponents, but no one's passing above a 2.2.
Yeah.
So we need to get that
Sounds
up
about
closer
right.
to 2.5, 2.6 range. That's out of a 3-point scale. 4-point scale, it's completely different. There's not much of a change either way.
2.5 is probably aggressive. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen any team, no matter how good, passing a 2.5. 2.2 is really good. Is really good. Now, of course, distribution does matter because you don't want just like a bunch of ones and a bunch of threes and you get a 2. That's completely different than getting a lot of 2s, some 3s, and some 1s.
Yeah.
But it does speak to the need to be able to be, whether it's Jake or it's the libero or it's the middle having to take a second ball, to be able to go to at least 2 different options.
yeah.
Because you're going to be in that scenario.
The biggest thing we found is a first ball side out percentage that Volumetrics runs for us. And that was like my key focus. And when Chris passes the ball, we side out 32.4% of the time. When you're going to laugh at this, but when Kevin passes the ball, we only side out 27% of the time. So
neither of those numbers is particularly good.
I know.
No, they're not. Actually,
I was waiting for that. Oh, wow.
I was like, wait, where's the good news in this?
There is really no good news.
I know we talked about the other day the possibility of 4 corners, running some type of 4 corners, like serve receive and
they love 4 corners.
or 4 corners like attack, like the self-toss attack type of 4 corners if we're able to do that.
Yeah, I think we'd be able to do something because you're distance enough. For serve and pass, one of the things, a drill that I like to use, because you've got the advantage of working on the communication and the organization between 2 adjacent passers, is something called flip switch, which is basically 2 passers on a half a court. So one of them straddling the center line, one of them is in a normal reception position, and you have servers in 1 and 5.
Okay.
And so let's say they start in, the receivers start in 5 and 6. The server in 1 tries to serve either the seam inside or outside edge seam. So the server's goal is always to be working seam one way or the other. They pass the ball or they don't pass the ball, whichever happens. And then they switch. So 6 becomes 5, 5 becomes 6. They get a serve from zone 5. Again, same thing, attacking. And then they shift over. So now they're in 6 and 1.
Okay.
And they repeat the process. Ball from 1,
nice.
flip, ball from 5, shift back over.
Okay.
So over the course of 4 balls, they each pass in 2 positions.
Okay.
And it's constantly, the thing that's really nice about it is if you're wanting to work on that communication and those responsibilities, they're constantly shifting position and shifting ball direction. So that every time they reset, they have to say, okay, now we're here. Now the ball's coming from that direction.
Mhm.
I've got the short ball or I've got the deep ball or whatever. So it really forces them every single ball
Yeah.
to talk to each other.
Hmm.
And so it's something that normally you just do it on time
Yeah.
to keep it going. The key thing is obviously the servers do need to be,
Right.
it can't be a lazy just lollipop. That's not the
Right.
point. The servers
Very
need to be
aggressive.
working, attack the seams.
Yeah.
You're in this drill to learn something as well. And you have to do this, the switches and the flips, regardless of whether it's a good server or not,
Yeah.
just to keep it flowing. It all tends to work out in the end anyway. And then the way you can do it is, say you go 5 minutes,
Mhm.
you can then rotate everybody one position.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Now, I think this will be more interesting with the women
Yeah.
because we've only got Madison as a middle, and I've
Right.
already warned her that she's going to
Be passing.
be
Yeah.
doing passing and defense. I told her that back in July, so she's had plenty of time to get her mind wrapped around that. With the guys, obviously, we've got a pair of middles that aren't really, you won't expect them to pass,
Right.
but we can definitely have them in the serving side of things for sure. And there's no reason why they can't mix in a little bit on the passing, because my philosophy on seams as a starting point, now everything else, situationally you can change this, but my starting point for seams, passing and defense is the person who's closest to the origination point of the ball
Mhm.
takes the short seam
Okay.
because they have the shortest distance to try to cover to get that ball.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And so the person who's further away then has the deep seam.
Right.
Again, from there, hey, if it's the libero against the front row attacker and you want to take some more space, or you want to constrain the court, or you make an adjustment on your defense, that's all fine.
Mhm.
But that's kind of the starting point that we need to drill into them so that they know it just automatically. There's no thinking about it. The only thinking comes if they have to change it or they want
Right.
to change it. So I think flip switch is a way we can get that going.
Okay.
In a situation where they're naturally spaced, because you're more than
Yeah,
6 feet
that sounds
apart if
good.
you're in reception. We could do it two sides
Okay.
on the days we've got 8.
Yeah.
A little trickier on the days
Yeah,
when Jake's not there, because then your numbers don't work.
Mhm.
The only issue, actually, I was going to say the only issue is targets. Since I'm going to be the only person there to possibly be a target,
Oh, that's right.
but I can come up with a possible solution for that.
Mhm.
We'll see, but it's something that we talked about needing to do passing, and serving is a big thing for me. We'll definitely work a lot on serving, just generally speaking, to get that in. So flip switch. What was serving like for the team last year?
Inconsistent a little bit. We have some very good servers, aggressive servers, but I think a lot of the time they get back there and get in their heads sometimes. So there would be games where we would only miss maybe like a couple of serves in the entire match, but then there would be matches where we would miss like 6 to 8 serves in a match. So I definitely think consistency wise, we're a little bit all over the place, but overall we could be a very good serving team. It's just a matter of the focus when they get back there.
Are there any guys who are spin servers, or are they all float servers?
We've got both. So Chris is both. He's got a good top spin and float. It's just a matter of he's got to control his power. He's too powerful sometimes, so it will go like flying out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
Dickerson has a very good top spin. I'm trying to think who else. Jake has a good top spin and float. Chi is a float server. LJ is a float server. Kevin's a float server.
Brandon's a float server.
Yeah, I think Brandon has one of the best serves on the team.
Yep.
Along the lines of like hitting seams and being able to hit spots with power, and because I know a lot of them when they're given a spot, they kind of take the power off a little bit, so they're more focused on making the spot rather than erring in the spot,
Right.
but still making it aggressive.
Okay.
I would say I think lowest is a topspin, but it's a high lob of a topspin a little bit because he hits the same way he serves, so it's a little bit of a goofy footed approach
Sure.
when he does it. And then he
That
does
a lob topspin will work if you could put it in the last 3 feet of
Yeah.
the court, because that's nobody's ready for that.
yeah, no.
But yeah, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do.
I'm trying to think, who else am I missing? Or did I hit everyone?
I mean, Nick's the only other one I think
Yeah.
that you haven't
And
said.
he's both topspin and a float. He's got a very good serve as well, especially when he's like in the zone. His topspin is like unstoppable pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, we can definitely do serving, as long as the guys maintain some spacing behind the end
Yeah.
lines. But if we're doing serving with passers, then that takes the spacing out of it.
Yeah.
So not too much of a concern. I'll have to look at this. I'll probably get in there like day one and just let them just free serve,
Mhm.
which is probably all they can do
Yeah.
the first time around anyway. I don't know how it would look if we try to give them a lot of targets,
I know.
but just to at least, see what they look like, get them on film and look at them later. My tendency with servers is to try to have them identify, okay, what's your go-to serve? What's your
Yeah.
best serve? The serve that, in any situation, you can hit.
Mhm.
I can hit 5-6, or I can do that 1 to 5 serve
Right.
down line, whatever it is. And then also have them be able to develop a second serve
Mhm.
off of that. And so, we'll see how that goes. The one thing I'll be interested to see is where they set up their starting points.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I do not like is servers who serve out of 6, like straight out of 6.
Yeah. That's
It's-
I'm trying to think who's there. Most of them are either like 1 or 5 when they serve. I'm trying to think.
Dickerson's out of 6
Yeah,
a
he's
lot.
out of 6.
It's just because actually a lot of it has to do with him because it's the way the gym is set up. I think it just when we sometimes do the basketball hoops down or if we forget to put them up or something like that, he'll switch. But usually a lot of people, a lot of his come out of a 6 right away. I think that's just natural.
Yeah,
for him.
the issue I've gotten, I've actually seen some numbers to back this up.
Mhm.
That serve is generally the easiest serve to pass
Yeah. And it's
Mhm.
like,
because the angles are all against you.
mhm.
You either end up accidentally serving this straight to 6,
Right.
which, okay, just let the ball bounce off me, please.
Right.
But if you're serving more at an angle, even those balls are naturally going to go back toward target.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're getting a little, even a little bit off center,
Mhm.
you create different angles. So, we'll look at that. And if there's anything that
Yeah, I
we
think
need
we
to
more
adjust,
so
we can talk about.
stressed not serving out of the 6 for the women's team than we did for the men's. Because, I mean, especially when I played, that was the biggest thing, making sure we were somewhere other than the 6.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. If you don't have something like just a power,
yeah.
then 6 is difficult. If you've got power and you can hit angles, then okay, that
Right.
creates some challenges, especially if you could hit the deep corners,
Yeah.
because those are hard to pass. But yeah, so we'll see. All right. Let's see. Finding any new data for us, Elaine,
Serving.
on anything?
Serving wise, we
Well, you said the other team passed it too, so that's a pretty good idea.
our
Serving
ace
effectiveness.
percentage. Our ace percentage is 7.1%.
That's not bad. It's not
Our
horrible.
opponents were acing us at a 7.3%.
Reasonable.
Our error percentage though was a 19.9%.
If a lot of players are float serving, that's definitely high.
Our errors are our opponents were serving us at a 17.4%. I actually have to look up what this means. I lost where.
When I was coaching at MSU, I think it was our second year, we started the year off serving at 20% errors. But by the end of the season, we were down to about 10 with roughly the same aces per set.
Uh-huh.
which was nice.
Yeah.
That was good. That was good.
And our opponents were at a 42.1%.
For what was that?
It was for the point serving percentage.
All right. So, okay. So what the Europeans would call break points?
Yes.
Something from tennis. Okay. Anything we haven't mentioned?
Talk about serving, serve, receive.
But defense is going to be difficult to learn
Yeah.
if we're not. I mean, we're not going to have blocks
Right.
mostly, so that part of it's going to be difficult. We can defend against back row attacks and
Yeah.
constrain front row attacks. So we'll get some digging in, whether we call it
Yeah.
defense or not is another story altogether. Yeah. So basically, the way it's looking is we've got 6 sessions, 2 without Jake,
Mhm.
unless they tell me that they want to try to squeeze them in during those few days before the Thanksgiving
Right.
break. And we can do it according to scheduling, which sounds doable because I don't think other teams are going to be trying to fit in there, but we'll have to see.
Mhm.
Anyway, okay.
Yeah, I think
So-
so, we covered most of the things that we can do for the men's team, I would think.
Yep.
And we touched base on like our key weaknesses that need to be strengthened.
Yeah.
So
All right, let's flip over and talk to the women, talk about the women. So for the people out there, here's the scenario. We have, well, first off, we have an extremely young team.
yes.
There's only 3 players that are returners from last year, and they're all sophomores. So no upperclassmen at all. We have a couple of additions to the team who are sophomores academically, but were not in the team last year. One of them had an ACL that she was recovering from. Another one actually was a swimmer. I guess technically still is a swimmer. Never really played organized volleyball before, as far as we know. But she played with the other ones during open gym, and they kind of invited her on the basis of what they saw to come join the team. So she did, and she's with us now. She's obviously going to have a bunch of stuff to learn in terms of how to play in a team structure. And she defines herself as a DS libero type player, but she's also 5'9". So we're going to have to see how that looks. We've got, so that's what, 5 of them right there. We've got 3 freshmen. One of them is a middle, a legit 6'1" middle. One of them is libero DS, so she says. And the other one is actually a bowler who's tiny. Says she can do basically everything except play middle. Her father was a college player when he was going to school. So she's been in the game for a while. She's really enthusiastic. She really wants to be part of the team and do everything that she can with volleyball. But she's also a very good bowler by all accounts and is needed in the whatever you call the starting lineup for bowling. I don't know what that is.
Starting 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
Starting 5.
Oh,
I think so.
So we've got amongst the 3 returning players, one is a libero and 2 are pin hitters. So which means we have sort of 3 hitters overall right now and 5 little people. Although, as we said, one of them is not necessarily that little.
yes.
So we've got one player. The bowler says she can set. Availability is a question, so we can't necessarily rely on her. But hey, if we have another setter in practice, that's great. The girl coming back from the ACL is willing to take up setting. She hasn't done it really before, but one of the returners actually set in high school, but says she hates it. So that's a situation. So basically, the big thing that we have to do, or at least start working on in these next couple of weeks, is figure out what we can use people to do. Okay, Madison is our middle.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, she can play middle.
Right.
What can everybody else do? I mean, we know Hallie and Sheila can hit on the pins.
Right.
Can anybody else hit on the pins? Who can put up a hittable ball?
Yeah.
Who can receive at a good level? You know, because it legitimately could be that we only have 7 players on game day.
Right.
Based on when things happen.
Surprisingly, Ariksha can hit. Like you wouldn't think so. And I know she hates setting, but she has a very good arm swing.
For those out there, she's 5'1".
Yes.
And the bowler might be 5'2", 5'3". She's not much taller.
Yeah, no.
So this will be defense will obviously have to be something we do very well. All the ball handling stuff is stuff that we're going to have to do really well with no experienced setter and only limited number of hitters. So also serving. We need to be a good serving team.
Yes.
Because we can't let the big teams just flail away at us unrestricted. So I don't know if you'll bought. Well, there aren't any numbers to look at in that regard.
Nope.
So that all the metrics. But even if there were, it's this group is completely and utterly different from last year's group.
Yep.
The one thing we could possibly have for next term is Olivia.
Yes.
She's had shoulder surgery, so she's not cleared yet. Maybe, possibly, obviously up to her doctor, if she's going to be even a possibility for the spring. She's also a softball player, so there's that other consideration too, which sport she would necessarily prioritize in the situation. But for right now, we can't count on her.
Right.
I believe there aren't any conflicts with any of the players in terms of missing. Well, actually, no, there's one. Bailey, who's the ACL one, there's one of the days she can't make, I believe. I think we've got a Friday. Actually, I've got it written down. Let me just see. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Bailey can't do no. Actually, she's available for everything. Okay, so that's good. So that gives it 8, a nice even number. So we can do 4v4 type stuff or something that looks like 4v4. We could do something along the lines of flip switch, especially if we have trainer help in the gym. I just thought of that.
That would be nice.
You can be target. I can target one side, you can target the other side. Excellent. One thing I would really like to do is just some generalized all skills type stuff. Pepper variations over the net. So I can see where people are at, see who actually has reasonable hands that, maybe we can use them in a setting situation. Maybe we have to do something like where somebody sets out of 1 and 6, but when they're in 5, somebody else sets, the front row. Yeah. Because that is the toughest transition angle.
Coming from that far left side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can any of them other than Madison get above the net to block? Where they could, for example, Jamie. Jamie's probably never played middle, but maybe she could play middle.
Yeah, the only one I think would be Haley that could. Her blocking still needs some work, but she's the only other one that's got the athleticism to get over. Right.
So, I'm thinking a lot of generalized kind of all skills type sessions without getting too specific. Serving, obviously everybody can do the serving and everybody can do some sort of reception. So whether it's a flip switch or some other servers and passers type deal, they all can do that. Heck, if we find out Madison passes really well, then maybe she can stay in the back row and be an attacker out of the pipe.
Right.
If she's got the arm for it, so that we can find a way to have 3 hitters type situation in some way. Because if it's only the 3 of them that we've got, Madison, Hallie, Sheila, one of the ways of looking at it is just put them in a triangle. Yeah.
We
And
just have to really work on Sheila's footwork. Towards the end of the season, she actually improved really well. She's got a great arm swing. She's a lefty, but it's her footwork that kind of trips her up, where she's either like way under the ball, so it's like flying like way out of bounds or right into the net, or sometimes her body accelerates faster than her arm does, and she's kind of into a situation where she's under the net.
Yeah.
So we gotta just that simple like footwork stuff we gotta work on.
Okay. Good to know. Again, well, kind of like with the guys in the blocking, and actually even with the hitting, they could do some of that sort of stuff as warm up.
Yeah.
Okay. So transition and attacking footwork. All right. I mean, I'm really interested to see what Jamie is capable of.
Me too. I think that'll be exciting.
Yeah. I mean, probably more than she thinks she is.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously she's going to have a big mental challenge of learning the game and developing the volleyball IQ, but she's not a dummy. I mean, she's a pretty good student from what I can tell. And so, for those listening in, I kind of threw her in the really deep end by having her try to look at some set distribution stuff. She'd never done anything like that before. She basically told me, I know pass it hit, which is good. That's a starting point. So she needed, fortunately we did a session that looked on about scouting other teams in it, and it kind of helped her solidify some ideas in her head. So she's progressing, but she's going to obviously need to see a lot more and work through a lot more. And she's probably one where developing those seam ideas and whose responsibility and what should I do in this scenario is going to be really important. I mean, all of them are, because only 3 of them are back and have ever played together before. Yeah. So that's the huge difference between the men and the women. The men have all played together before. Yeah. Most of the women haven't.
Right.
So
I think if there's a way, we also may want to just incorporate a lot of film for the girls at some point. I mean, on their own. And I think in some of the meetings or something, we have them kind of break it down just so everyone can learn and build up their IQ by watching. I mean, even previous matches from years past, or even just some current college matches that are being played now. I definitely think they need to watch a whole lot more volleyball, so that way we can talk a little bit more and kind of they can kind of match or mimic their game a little bit, just to get a visual of how they need to look. Yeah,
I agree. And that's, we talked about this a little bit when Lauren Bertolacci came out and talked with them, is about how guys just are a bit more obsessive about that sort of stuff. And, you know, I mean, they admitted that they watch more highlights than full matches, but at least they're watching.
Right. And I think that was like, I mean, key thing when I was coming up as a player, I was always watching. And I mean, especially Alicia Glass, I would watch all of her like games and all of that stuff. So I think if they can all find a player that they kind of like resonate with and kind of just watch them, and I think that would be some good homework for them, because they are such a fresh team and they have a whole lot more learning to do than most athletes coming into this.
Yeah. And honestly, that's barring some really weird circumstance that develops between now and when we're supposed to start the season in February. It's going to be a learning season. I mean, this is going to be a foundational season. We can't possibly have expectations of going out and winning the conference in our current roster situation. And I don't think we're too inexperienced. We don't have enough cover in it in the key positions. So we got to work on the things that we can work on, the things that we can control.
Right.
You know? So serving is obviously a big part of that. I don't know, Lang, are you just that luck? Okay, you were. All right. You weren't moving. I was like, man, he's either really, really locked in on whatever he's writing or he's frozen.
No, I'm here. No, I'm here.
Actually, Lauren's team played this morning. And they should be able to, I'll have to check and see if the stream is available. It was on live on the Swiss website. So they should be able to see it. And once I see that it's that the delay or the whatever you want to call it, the feed is available. I'll post a link in their group so they can watch. Unfortunately, I think Hornstein lost.
Yeah.
When I checked in, it was 0-2 and they were down in the third. So like, all right, not so good. But hey, you can always watch your team win. Right, Lang?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now I'm thinking about it. I think the perfect player for like Sheila to watch would be like Destiny Hooker or someone, because I think that would, she just needs to watch someone on like that just for her to like
How tall is Destiny?
a whole lot taller than Sheila, but if we can get her like visually wise, just see how footwork and all that.
Well, actually, as a lefty, because I think Destiny's a righty.
Yes, she is.
But Carstelo as a lefty.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Somebody for her to watch. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else.
Yeah, because I mean, even like old Medaille film, the only lefty that we've had was Lauren Kirby, and I don't even know if they had film from 2012 left for us, but
probably not.
You're lucky you've got pictures from back then.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, actually, Karsta just started coaching. I think she joined.
Really?
Yeah, she just joined the staff at USC.
Oh, good for her.
Which I assume means she's done with her playing career. I mean, because she did retire, but then she came out of retirement last year.
Maybe this is like in between.
maybe, or maybe she's going to be the next Kyle Bamworth and go from coaching one Power 5 assistant coach to taking on her own Power 5 team within a couple of years. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Okay. Yeah, I could talk to Sheila about trying to look up footage of Karsten.
Yeah.
Just get some ideas on her footwork. What are Hallie's strengths?
She is probably one of the most athletic players. Even on our team last year when we had a full roster, she was probably one of our most athletic, jumping wise. Arm swing, she's got a very consistent arm swing. She just has to speed it up a little bit. And I think technique-wise, she's probably one of the most just fundamentally sound. Her main weakness is she gets in her head. And I think just because she was one of the younger ones starting, it was kind of a little bit intimidating for her. So I think now with the leadership role, it'll give her a little bit more confidence, because confidence-wise, when she was on fire and on point, she was crushing the ball. But it's more of a now, I think, because she can take a little bit more control and kind of lead the team in the direction that we're looking to have it go into. Footwork wise, her footwork's good. And she was a little bit all over the place because she's normally a right side, but we did switch her outside and right side in between. So just her trying to figure out her rhythm as well. So I think now going into this, she'll be a little bit more ready and aware to be able to swing on both sides of the net. But overall, athleticism-wise, she's capable of pretty much anything we kind of throw at her.
Okay. And how are the returners in reception?
The only one, Ariksha, good. There is, there's always drama on the women's side of things when you talk about teams. And I think last year's team, Ariksha came in as a freshman and started getting more playing time as like one of our first subs that we would throw in. And I think that her team didn't allow her to kind of build up confidence within herself, because they kind of didn't have the confidence in her, but her passing was on point when they would allow her to, and kind of not get into her space a little bit. And so I think without there was a lot of friction in the back row last year. So I think without those issues, she'll probably do a whole lot better. Same thing with Hallie. There's just some, it was just some control issues that were just, it's like, it's my spot, I'll take it, or kind of like people not playing their role in their position and trying to do a little bit too much. So those two I think are going to kind of grow a little bit better serve receive wise and passing wise because it'll be more relaxed. I feel like Sheila didn't get too many reps passing. She's not the strongest passer out of the group, so she definitely will need some work on her receptions and defense and all that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, lots of learning to be done by coaches and players in this situation. What does everybody have? Any lingering impressions, Line?
None for me. Nope.
No.
I will say this, that we just need to get better on passing. And I mean, that won or lost a lot of games at one point. And I think that's what we need to do going forward.
Okay. Did you say you've seen Madison play or no?
We saw her on like a highlight film,
Okay.
and that's really about it. But we'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, this is an interesting situation for people out there. I mean, because we have most of the players haven't returned.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen most of the team at all.
Yeah.
At all.
When we were talking to Madison, it was like towards the end of high school season. So it was like her team was pretty much already done.
Mm-hmm.
So we really couldn't get out there to go see her.
Right.
And I mean, of course, we can't sit in on open gyms because she did come to a couple open gyms with the players. And so we really didn't get a chance to see her that way.
Okay. Yeah, this isn't, I talk about not a lot of experience in this group, but this isn't a team that's got a lot of club experience.
No.
At all either.
The only one I would say Sierra has played high school and club from pretty much her whole volleyball career. Hallie played club. Other than that, Kendall played club. She played NFEB local a little bit, I want to say. I don't know how long she did. I know she did for a little bit, but other than that, I think those are the only few.
Yeah. So lots of learning, of learning. So that'll be good. That's the fun of coaching, right?
Yep.
Yep.